Okay, I want you to imagine a resource so absolutely crucial to our future that its price is projected to skyrocket by 40 times by the year 2040. A 40-fold increase. And no, we're not talking about oil or gold or real estate. We are talking about lithium. It's literally the lightest metal on Earth, but it has become the undisputed heavyweight champion of our global green energy transition.
Hello and welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled to be your guide today as we unpack a really fascinating, super complex, and incredibly high stakes global issue. We're going to be exploring the white gold rush, focusing specifically on the geopolitical, economic, and environmental forces that are actively shaping South America's famed lithium triangle. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the green transition, map out the lithium triangle itself, take a deep dive into Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile, look at the global resource race, and finally, we'll confront the environmental costs.
All right, part one, powering the green transition. To meet our global climate goals, the International Renewable Energy Agency projects that renewables actually have to make up 91% of our energy mix by 2050. And achieving that monumental shift, well, it's pretty much impossible without critical minerals. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer velocity of change here. Back in 2010, batteries made up just 23% of lithium's end use, but by 2021, that number absolutely exploded to 74%. In just over a single decade, this one metal was entirely repurposed to fuel our laptops, our phones, and of course, the massive electric vehicle revolution.
Moving right along to part two, inside the lithium triangle.
So where exactly is all this vital lithium coming from? While there are deposits scattered all over the world, the geographical concentration of high-quality, easily processable lithium is heavily skewed toward one very specific region. If we look down in the Andean southwest corner of South America, we find the Bolivian Plateau and the famously dry Atacama Desert over in Chile. Nestled way up high in these salt flats, beneath these stark, beautiful landscapes, lies the white gold we're looking for. This region is officially known as the Lithium Triangle Countries, or LTCs, and it's made up of Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. Together, they hold a staggering 58% of the world's known lithium reserves. That is huge. But there's a geological catch here that gives them a major advantage. You see, while the current top producer, Australia, extracts lithium from hard rock deposits, the Triangle countries extract it from underground salt brines. This brine extraction process is actually cheaper and requires less processing overall, which translates into some seriously high profit margins.
Which brings us to part three, Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. Now, just possessing the resource is only half the battle, right? How a country actually manages it makes all the difference in the world. And despite sharing borders, these three nations take wildly different approaches. This chart brilliantly illustrates the gap between potential and reality. While the lithium triangle holds nearly 60% of global reserves, look at the actual production numbers for 2021. Australia is way ahead of the pack at 52%. Chile comes in second at 25%, and Argentina provides about 6%. Notice anyone missing? Bolivia, the country with the single largest reserves on the planet, isn't even in the top 5. So let's break down why that is, country by country.
Let's put Argentina and Chile side by side first. Argentina basically treats lithium like any other mineral, using a highly decentralized, open market policy. They toss out tax breaks and charge a remarkably low 3% royalty to mining firms. And that liberalized approach, it fueled a massive 234% year-over-year jump in their lithium exports in 2022. Chile, on the flip side, is highly regulated. They've got strict production quotas, they require companies to sell up to 25% of their output locally at preferential prices, and they recently rolled out a national lithium strategy. That strategy is aimed at creating a state-controlled national lithium company that will partner directly with the private sector. And then we have Bolivia's incredible paradox. They hold 24% of the world's total lithium resources, largely sitting in the massive Salar de Uyuni salt flat. Yet they really struggle to produce it. Why? Well, it's a complicated mix of heavy state control, inconsistent policies, and honestly, simple geography. Unlike the super dry Atacama in Chile, Bolivia has a wetter climate, which makes traditional solar evaporation incredibly difficult and time-consuming. On top of that, the high water intensity required to process their specific type of brine has sparked significant protests from local indigenous communities and environmentalists, which has pretty much stopped major foreign projects right in their tracks. All right, part 4, the global resource race. Here is the geopolitical reality of the situation. The countries holding the lithium aren't necessarily the ones manufacturing the final batteries. And this disconnect has kicked off an intense, incredibly high-stakes superpower competition to secure these vital mineral supply chains. Chinese firms are expanding aggressively. They currently hold stakes in 6 of the 9 major Argentina projects, and they've signed billion-dollar extraction deals over in Bolivia. To counter that dominance, the U.S. put together the Mineral Security Partnership, which is an alliance with nations like Australia, Japan, and South Korea, all aimed at securing their own supply lines. We're also seeing massive individual investments, like South Korea's POSCO Holdings injecting $4 billion into Argentina. And tensions are definitely rising. For example, as the U.S. restricted certain high-tech microchip technologies, China retaliated by restricting exports of other critical minerals, like gallium and germanium. It is a giant geopolitical chess match.
And finally, Part 5, Environmental Costs and Climate.
So while superpowers maneuver and profit margins swell, we really have to look at the ground reality to understand the ecological cost here. Okay, let's dive into this extraction process itself, because this is where the bottleneck really hits. Step 1 involves pumping subterranean saltwater, or brine, way up to the surface. Step 2 is the tricky part. This brine just sits in massive pools for solar evaporation. This process can easily take over a year, and it is incredibly water-intensive. Finally, step 3 is taking those remaining salts and processing them into usable lithium carbonate or hydroxide. The fallout from that prolonged evaporation process is pretty severe for these fragile local ecosystems. Down in Chile's Atacama Desert, which, again, is already one of the driest places on Earth, severe water depletion is directly impacting regional biodiversity. It's notably shrinking the local flamingo populations. Over in Argentina, they've been suffering their worst drought in 60 years. And local indigenous groups all across the triangle are actively protesting against displacement, not to mention the very real fear of processing chemicals infiltrating their precious groundwater. The really ironic reality here is that our clean, green electric vehicles are currently deeply reliant on some highly damaging extraction methods. But hey, there is actually a technological silver lining on the horizon. It's called direct lithium extraction, or DLE for short. This is exactly the innovation the industry is desperately hoping for right now. Think of DLE essentially like a giant chemical filter. It directly extracts the lithium right out of the brine without needing those massive, slow evaporation pools. It promises way faster extraction speeds, much higher yields, and crucially, vastly lower water use. That could be the real game changer that allows countries like Bolivia to finally bypass their geographical constraints while actually protecting their ecosystems. Which brings us to the ultimate dilemma. The lithium trapped beneath the Andes is absolutely essential for humanity's transition away from fossil fuels. There's no way around it. But can the world extract the white gold needed to save our global climate without destroying the local environment and the communities that rely on it in the process? It's a massive balancing act of innovation, geopolitics, and environmental stewardship, and it is for sure going to define our century. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparked your curiosity to learn a bit more about the complexities of our green transition. Until next time, stay curious.